Welcome to IntoThe New.
Today we're going to explore
Exciting. The non-cognitive experience of being human. The non-cognitive experience of being human.
Wow.
Sounds like we need an explanation or a little exploration first. What is the cognitive and non-cognitive experience, and why is that important?
Yeah. So the cognitive experience.
Yeah.
If we start there.
Yeah.
How would you describe that?
The cognition, everything I can see, hear, smell, make sense of, make mental models understanding of. That would be, for me, the cognitive experience. It hurts. Cognition. Smells like hand soap. Cognition. You smile. Cognition. That might mean she likes me. Interpretation out of cognition. Still in the cognitive realm.
And the non-cognitive experience.
Yeah.
Everything beyond cognition that we sense, are aware of, our intuitive, deeper knowing.
Yeah. And this is hugely interesting, I think.
Yeah.
When we open this door, some people react with, what? What we can't see, sense, make sense of doesn't exist. And some people react with, wow, yeah, that we can't really touch, that we just know is there. Can you help me explore that?
Yeah. And why do we think this is important?
First that comes to mind is we live in a very cognition-centered era. We would say we live in an expert achiever paradigm. Knowledge is promoted and performance, accomplishment is promoted. From when we're like this small to when we're like this big.
Yeah, and the comparison, the measurement, the expertise.
Yeah.
How do we know that things are true, that they really exist in this paradigm? Through cognition, through the concrete experience.
What we can touch, measure, see, sense is what exists. That leads me to what we discussed earlier today. There's a professor in physics named, now I dropped his name, Danielsson, Ulf. And he said something like, everything that we see, that we take for granted, that we take as reality, is constructed through models. And we can't really know that anything of that we observe exists. Because it's all shaped inside us, in our cognition. Even gravity. Well, we experience gravity being something that pulls me towards the face of the earth. Yeah, and that's true. And as long as our models function for us, we use them. But we can't say that gravity exists outside of our models. I think that is really fascinating and cannot... that doesn't make sense. From a professor in physics. I mean, that's his main territory.
For me, my experience of the non-cognitive has always been present. Like I've always had this knowing that there's so much more than the cognitive parts of reality, of experience. So it's always been very present to me.
And how does that shape your experience?
It's really difficult to answer because it's always been part of my experience. It's like, but one thing that is present is that I've always had the sense that there's more. What we see is not everything. What we can measure, what we can see or hear is not everything. There's still more that gives my experience the color, the flavor, the rich experience. It's so much more than just the cognitive parts. And for you?
Yeah, life is richer.
Yeah.
And to some extent, I've had that always, as you. And in some aspect, I felt, and I think many I talk with have that experience. Was this all? Is this really all it is to life? Now I'm like 47, house and kids and wife and several good jobs. Isn't it more? Wasn't it supposed to be more? And I've always had the feeling, the knowing, the deep knowing that, oh yes, there is so much more to life. And I've had those experiences since I was rather small. But that, I think, is for me, the intention of sharing in this clip.
Yeah.
I feel drawn to take 2 notes.
Yeah.
Scientific models and experience, plain, pure experience. What do we make of those?
Scientific models and the non-cognitive experience. Yeah, where might that bring us?
Yeah. I instantly lean towards opening or closing. Scientific models and a striving or a pull to understand the world cognitively through the models that we create can often be closing. It keeps us in and within our models until the models shift or until there come new models I can use. And that is a way that can easily limit my life experience if I go through the model to seek a wider experience. Plain pure experience, I think, was the other. Just experience.
Pure experience. Beyond the models of the mind. Beyond the sense making. Even. The staying in pure experience.
And that is where life happens, really.
Yeah.
Life doesn't happen, in my opinion, when we think about it. When we think about how it unfolds. Really, life happens in me, in you, when we experience it. And that is for me the essence of this. The non-cognitive experience of being human.
Yeah, one thing that comes up when listening to you is the guidance. The experience we receive guidance in listening to the non-cognitive parts of this world, of our experience. And really finding answers, finding guidance on how to take our next true step. Instead of analyzing or try to make a plan out of cognition.
What's the best strategic step to take?
Yeah.
Or if we listen closely to our intuitive selves, to the conversation with the world, what does the world say? What step wants to be taken? That's beautiful. Because that's an application in this real life reality.
Yeah, true.
That comes with a real life outcome in what we do, in our gifts, in our work every day. I think that is super important to mention.
Yeah.
Because for many, the non-cognitive experience is the and dissociate myself from the world a bit. And the cognitive is what counts.
Yeah.
Yep, I have an answer. I have a direction.
Yeah.
But we always believe that these two are not separated.
Although they were for me for many years.
Yeah.
I had my professional self, and I have my whole self, my spiritual, intuitive self, and those were separated. Of course, in some sense, I had the full non-cognitive experience, and in some ways maybe let myself be guided by that, even in my professional life. But I also kept them separate, like that was not welcome within my professional area.
And I think that is a super common experience. I have my private self and my professional self. In my private world, I can do meditation and yoga and tend to the intuitive and holistic parts of being human. And in my professional self, then I am an engineer, or I am a construction man, or I am a dentist, or whatever.
Yeah, relying on science.
Yeah.
On measurements.
Yeah.
On what we see here.
And when we open up for both and,
yeah,
because everything we do is built on science in one way or another.
In our work.
In our work,
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's super important. Everything we do in our work is built on science.
Yeah.
Solid science that we apply. But the way we do apply it is shaped out of the intuitive listening. And that makes the difference between applying a framework or creating magic. Not so humble, but but when we can listen to how does these gifts want to be given? We can offer them in a way that becomes more true, more whole.
Yeah.
And that is done by the non-cognitive listening.
Yeah. And within that, as you said earlier, Niklas, that conversation with the world that continuously is going on.
Yeah.
How these gifts are given is also reshaped.
Yeah. Yeah.
In any moment, everything is slightly shifting.
I feel drawn to take a note. Do you want to?
Mom was a bit afraid.
Yeah. What do you read?
Our basic frameworks, our foundational frameworks. Adult stage development or vertical development.
Cool. I'm reading dance.
Dance!
Yeah. So how do we combine those? The basic frameworks.
Yeah. You said everything we do within our work is based on science, on solid frameworks. And the main one, vertical development, is a way to describe the patterns or inner figures that we all share as human beings.
It's really deep psychology.
Yeah.
Psychological patterns, psycho-emotional responses that we call figures, because they're really wider than just responses that exist in every one of us. And that is a cognitive model.
Yes.
The dance part fits in right now. Because when we use it as an experiential model, how do I experience this figure that we call the diplomat? How do I experience this figure we call the achiever in me? We move that from the cognitive, how do I understand what this is, to what's my experience of this? And that's where we start to integrate the cognitive into the non-cognitive, into the experiential. And we can start to dance with it. Boom. And really, when we start to dance with it, when we start to play with it, when it comes alive, the cognitive and the non-cognitive really merge.
Yeah. And again, that's when the magic happens.
Yeah.
And the framework itself gets richer, more intuitive, and connects with our deeper knowing, our intuitive knowing.
Yeah.
And even in the interactions with others, I would say, you might sense something going on between you and another, or between others around you. And that sensing might not be enough validation to actually mention it or act on it.
Yeah.
So sometimes the cognitive framework can actually strengthen the non-cognitive knowing or sensing.
That draws me into, sometimes we sense something. And sometimes the cognitive framework can strengthen that sensing.
Yeah.
Sometimes our cognitive mind can really put the lid on. Oh, that's just a feeling, doesn't count.
Exactly.
And I love your story about how you experience your own intuition, your own intuitive voices. Or story, but your experience of that.
Experience, really. And that my experience also is shifting. But over the years, for me, my intuitive guidance or listening has become so much more clear as I start to listen, as I start to pay attention to those parts of my experience and start to listen, follow, and it becomes clearer. And I also believe, where I am right now, that acknowledging these parts of my experience, sharing them with you, with others, also is making them even more clearer, more vivid, more present in any moment.
And we meet more and more people that share the same experience. When we start to listen and pay attention to our non-cognitive knowing, our intuition, the subtle whispers of the heart, the subtle whispers of the soul, these whispers get stronger and clearer. And it's a matter of practice, almost.
Yeah.
If I practice listening and follow what I hear, the listening gets easier, the listening gets deeper, the voices get clearer.
Yeah. You might call it practicing, or you might see it as when I listen to this voice inside. There's a reason for it to speak to me. Otherwise, maybe it's not.
So what if we share two ways to listen, two ways to practice, if you want, to listen to your intuitive knowing? One that comes to mind is the 20-minute dance.
Yeah, that's a beautiful, beautiful practice.
Yeah. Do you want to take it, or should I take it? You can take the next one.
Okay.
Often we use our mind to tell our body what to do. And often it responds very obediently. The 20-minute dance is a practice where we reverse that. Imagining that the body has a will of its own, and it's our mind's task, it's our mind's job to listen to the body and follow. So if I really listen to how does my arm want to move right now? Can be super hard at the beginning. I start to sense, like this. And it's my mind's job to listen to my arm and move it as it wants to be moved. This is actually a form of yoga, intuitive yoga. So staying in that, the 20-minute dance is from a program we took at MIT, where that was the start of every session. Listening to how the body wants to move and move accordingly for 20 minutes. So that's a super exciting practice. Reverse the mind-body relation and let the body speak to the mind and move accordingly. You can do it for a minute, you can do it for 5 minutes, you can do it for a lifetime. maybe.
And the other practice that we really like to share today is what we call the intuition walk.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you take the other one? I say. I hope you get one.
Yeah, the intuition walk. So taking a walk, it might be in nature, it might be right where you are in this moment, in the office, in the city,
Yeah.
on the countryside. And just in presence. Start by becoming present to yourself. Letting go of the thoughts, the sense making. And open your heart. Open yourself to the conversation with the world. Open yourself to your deeper knowing. And listen. What is the world telling you? What is your heart whispering?
Yeah.
Your soul.
And as you move along, listen to what draws your attention. What paths wants to be walked? What parts of your surrounding wants to be visited? Let your intuition guide you to where you go, where you walk. And in that, listen, just as you say. What does that full experience tell you?
Yeah, maybe something else draws your attention.
Yeah.
Like a building, part of nature, conversation.
Yeah.
What is that telling you? And you can enter an intuition walk with a question you're holding at the moment.
Yeah.
We're just completely open.
Yeah. And this might sound like, yeah, sure. And I'm super fascinated by how powerful it is.
Yeah.
We use it all the time, and we used it at one of our retreats this summer. A group of 10 people invited after meditation into an intuition walk in nature.
Yeah.
Without a plan, just walking around for 45 minutes. And every one of them came back with some insight. Wow, I saw this. I heard this. Now this is totally clear. My career is, I should really have professional roles of this kind and not of that kind. Wow, what an insight. It's really, really hands-on, tangible, cognitive information from that intuitive, non-cognitive practice.
Yeah, it was beautiful, and experience is really powerful.
Yeah. And we got the question, do you do that often?
Yeah.
And we responded like,
yeah, almost all the time.
That's how we move in the world. Constantly listening too.
Yeah.
What is the surrounding speaking with us about? What's nature talking to us about? What's our own beings talking to us about? And letting that inform our cognitive choices. And vice versa. And there we have the dance again. The cognitive reasoning and the intuitive listening becomes one.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Time to wrap up.
Yeah.
How do we do that? What have we talked about?
The dance between the cognitive and the non-cognitive parts of ourselves, of our experience.
Yeah. The non-cognitive being important. That's one thing that we didn't say. To navigate the increasing complexity of the world, the increasing uncertainty of the world, we can understand less and less of the total, but we can sense more and more.
So it might not be enough to set a goal, shape strategies, make a plan, and start to take action. because we can't foresee in the long run how things will emerge and change. But in listening to the guidance of the non-cognitive experience in the dance with the cognitive experience,
beautiful,
we'll find our next true step.
And 2 practices to use to really start to what do you say? Grow your intuitive listening. There's the 20-minute dance. Listening to your body and act as your body wants to move. And the intuition walk. That's it. For now.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. And if you're curious about the vertical frameworks, I'm sure we're going to do some clips about that. We have some shorter ones.
Yeah.
Cool. Take care.
Take care.